Welcome Princeps, and in this video I'm going to talk about the Legio Walks, Warhammer World's first Adeptus Titanicus weekend event. Really looking forward to this. It's on the 15th and 16th of February. The guys from the channel guy and a few others. It's going to be really good. So in this video I'm going to talk about the pack. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to take, and then after the weekend hopefully I'll do a part 2 and I'll tell you about my experience from the weekend. So we'll get straight into it, and let's talk about the pack. Okay, so page 1 is a breakdown of the whole weekend, and it's the 15th and 16th of February, and it is obviously Adeptus Titanicus. So the interesting bit here is the battle group size. So 1,000, 1,500 and 2,000 points. I think that's awesome. You get to bring 3 different battle groups to play for the whole weekend. Board size will be a 4x4, and scenarios, it says these will be revealed for the event. So they're obviously going to come up, they're going to come up with some nice narrative linked games over the course of the weekend. So I'm looking forward to seeing those, and if they're any good I can bring them back and try and replicate them on the channel, which would be good. 5 games. Army selection is your match play restrictions, but they've got some exemptions which are noted on the next page, and we'll get into that in a bit. Bring all the usual bits, counters, tapes, dice, all that stuff. They'll provide some food, and it's got the schedule. So we got 3 games on the first day and 2 games on the second day, and that all looks pretty good. At the top there it's got a little bit of blurb, give you a little bit of feeling for it, and it's set in the realm of Ultramar, and that's pretty good. Looking forward to that. Your army. Okay, so this is like the meat and potatoes of the whole thing really, isn't it? This is probably the most interesting bit. Alright, it says here you will need to make 3 battle groups for this event, one at 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 points. All 3 of these battle groups need to be from the same Titan Legion and or Knight household, but other than that they can be entirely different. Okay, so that's awesome. So I'll be taking Mortis, and I can have 3 different mana pools, mana pool traits for each list. So that's really good. You can really experiment and have some really different games throughout your weekend. Goes on to say each player needs to build their battle groups according to the rules presented in the Adeptus Titanicus rulebook, or Knight household force according to the rules presented in Doom of Moloch, with the following exceptions. Okay, so a battle group can include a maximum of 1 Knight banner per Titan mana pool within the battle group. Okay, so this stops you spamming Knights into Legion lists, I guess. So I mean, essentially it'll stop people taking, you know, 4 separate Acastus in a list. If you want to take 4 Acastus, they will have to be in 1 banner. So it stops doing that. I don't mind it. I quite like Knights as a support role. I think if you're taking a Legion list, you don't really want to be seeing the smallest mana pool possible and then filled out with loads of support Knights. I think that's good. I think it keeps it nice and themey. Yeah, got no problem with that at all. It's not as big a restriction as you may think. You can still, if you want the Acastus, you can still get a lot of Acastus in your list. I mean, mathematically, I think you could get 4 in a 1k list in a banner. You can get 4 in a 1,500 point list, because you'll only be able to probably get 1 minimum size mana pool in there. And then in a 2k list, mathematically you could have 2 small Titan mana pools, and you could have 2 Acastus banners, so you could get 8 Acastus in a 2k list as support with this rule. So yeah, it does reduce things, but not massively. So if you want to play with your toys, take your Acastus, you can. Within a household force, all knight banners within a lance, except for the Seneschal's banner, must be Questoris or Cerastus knight banners. Okay, so straight away they stopped Acastus spam in household lists. So if you're building your lance, and every household requires a minimum of one lance, so that's your trio of banners, it stops you from having all three banners as Acastus. And in only one of your lances can you have Acastus knights. Excuse me. And that's the Seneschal's banner. So if you had three Acastus as your Seneschal's banner, they would have to be backed up by Questoris or Cerastus knight banners, and then any further lances would have to be Questoris or Cerastus knight banners. Okay, so that's fine. No problem with that. But don't worry, if you want more Acastus in your household list, it goes on to say a household force can include a maximum of one Acastus knight banner as a free blade. So free blades are your support style banners that can run around on their own. They don't have to be in coherency with a lance. So in a household list, if you want lots of Acastus, you can have up to 4 in your Seneschal's banner, and you can have up to 4 in a free blade banner. So in a household list you can still get 8 Acastus knights. So if you want to take a load of those, you can. They just won't be running around like individuals, so you won't be able to use them as an activation tool. And then of course individually they're a pain anyway, just because of their sheer volume of firepower that they bring for their points, as most of you will know and understand. The Crusade Titan Legion rules from White Dwarf, July 2019, cannot be used when creating a battle group. So yeah, they released a make your own Legion rules in White Dwarf. Really fun and fluffy, and I think it's great. I think it's a nice thing to release, but I think it's probably open to abuse maybe. So they want to keep it nice and fluffy and narrative, and just have the Legio rules from the rule books. Again, I've got no problem with that at all. I think that's absolutely fine. And then it says, once you're happy with your battle groups, you must record it on a typed up force roster, copy to hand in, and then copies to give to your opponents so they can see what you're rocking in your games. So some very minor tweaks to the list building rules. Will they become a FAQ and become proper match play list building rules? Maybe, we'll see. See how the weekend goes and what GW and Forge World think of it, and they'll probably get an idea, see what kind of lists people are bringing. I personally will not be taking any Acastus Knights, and I hoped not to really see more than 2 in people's lists. They're not particularly good for the game in my opinion, but at the same time I think people should be able to bring models that they've built and painted and want to play with. So there you go, that's your army. Some minor tweaks there, but pretty fair all the same. I do a little bit here on model requirements, and as usual, all miniatures in your collection must be Citadel or Forge World, and should be fully painted and assembled to a battle ready standard. And then they give some examples on a Citadel colour website if you're not sure, but I got a feeling there's going to be a really high quality of Legios on show from what I've seen on the Facebook page, etc. I think people really enjoying painting their Titans and making them look good. Another bit here is about conversions, and they're more than happy for you to have conversions, but they just want to check them out and make sure that they're easily identifiable for your opponent and that the games flow without any confusion. So there's a little bit there. If you've really worked on your Titans and made some conversions, you can just check in with them and make sure that they're up to scratch. So pretty simple there. Okay, games. Okay, so the games will be played using the scenarios that will be revealed nearer the event, based around the 500 Worlds of Ultramar. Okay, so setting the scene and a little bit cryptic there of what the missions are going to be, but hopefully we'll find out just before. I do not know at this point, which is a shame because I'd have liked to have talked about them, but I can't. It also says here you'll get a campaign log, and this is for record keeping and for achievements and Titan status over the weekend. So it's going to have that little narrative feel to it. Achievements could be little rewards for engine kills, and status could be keeping damage. You know, if you've been engine killed, your Titan might suffer in the next game, having to have a full repair and things like that. So I quite like that. Keeps it fluffy, and it's a nice little thing. They've got a little code of conduct here and favourite player voting, so just be a good sport on the weekend and enjoy it. It then goes into painting competitions, and there seems to be quite a lot you can enter your work in for. Hold 2 painting competitions. These competitions are separate from the main event and have no bearing on overall rankings. Okay, so the first is the Legends painting competition, and it's got quite a lot of categories. So you can enter a unit of knights, warhound, reaver, and a warlord, basically. So there is a category for each scale group, if you like. And then the second competition is the best battle groups. That's everything you've brought for the whole weekend. So if you've magnetised your Titans, you might not be bringing as many as people that haven't, because if you want a different combination in your list, you can just retrofit the weapons. People that have glued them might be bringing a lot more, so I might have a more imposing looking battle group for that second painting competition. Or if you're the magnetised and you want to enter that, just bring everything you got anyway. So that's pretty good. It looks like you can nominate yourself to enter, so you just say I want to put this in the cabinet. I imagine people will go around at lunchtime at some point and have a look. Previous events I've been to, 40k, GW normally come around and they pick who they want in the cabinet, and then the others vote. But it looks like here you can enter as much or little as you want, so that's pretty good. Again, I think there's going to be some really nice stuff in there, so I will do my very best to get pictures of all those Titans in the cabinets. And then the rest of the awards for the weekend, because people like awards, Gods of the 500 Worlds. So I imagine you get a little certificate for just being on the winning side, loyalist or traitor, so that's nice, gives it a little edge, I suppose. Most sporting loyalist player, yep, good. And then most sporting traitor player, which doesn't sound quite right, does it? But fair enough. And then you've got your painting competitions, so your knights, your warhound, your reaver, your warlord. Seems to be there's no distinction between loyalist and traitor there. So, but the battle group one is best loyalist battle group and best traitor battle group, so that's quite nice as well. There's one for each of those. Okay, so that's the pack. Short and sweet, nice and simple. Pretty happy with that. Looking forward to seeing what the missions are going to be, and I'm just going to talk to you about what I'm going to take. So, my first list at 1,000 points is a Venator Light Maniple. I'm Legio Mortis throughout, as you all know by now, and I've got a Reaver, and that's going to be my Princeps, and he's going to have the Carapace Turbo Laser, Melter Cannon and Gatling Blaster. I think it's a really nice all-round build, strong with the Melter, and obviously a nice template for Knights, Turbo Laser for a bit of sniping and a bit of shield bane, and then the Gatling Blaster is a good all-round stripper, and not a bad strength, especially when an area is compromised, and the ordnance as well. So it's a good jack of all trades Reaver in my opinion, and you'll be seeing that build throughout the 3 different maniples that I've done for the weekend. So here's my Princeps, and I've given it the Ironclad Tyrant. The reason I've done that is because it's a Venator maniple, and I've got 3 Warhounds. I just thought if I need, command check of 5+ for a Warhound, I probably won't be squadroning them at this size. So on a 5+, that Princeps trait to give me that reroll fail command check within the maniple might be handy, you never know. So that's what I've picked. So yeah, the 3 Warhounds. So 2 armed with Vulcan Mega Bolters and Plasma Blast Guns. Pretty efficient all-round build really. And then a 3rd one with 2 turbo lasers and the War Master's Beneficence, so I can fire those weapons first time without having to push for shield lane. And it's they got the 32-inch range as well, and you can aim. So just a bit of a mix-up with the Warhound weapons. So Venator Light Maniple. Obviously got the Maniple trait, so if one of my Warhounds drops the shields of a Titan, then my Reaver Princeps gets to take a pot shot straight after. So I picked this really because I could get all 4 Titans in. It's 1,000 points on the nose, nothing wasted there. List number 2 is an Axiom Battle Line Maniple at 1,500 points. I picked this because it's a jack of all trades and I just wanted to get a little bit of everything in. So I wanted a Reaver, I wanted Warhounds, and I wanted a Warlord, and I wanted some Knights. And at this point I just felt it was the most efficient way of doing that, no other reason. Nice Maniple trait. If I fail a command check for orders within the Maniple, I can carry on rolling for orders with the other Titans. So nice and simple to use as well. So a Warlord, and that's my Princeps, the Carapace APOC missiles, Bellicosa Volcano, and a Quake Cannon. So good for those pesky Knights. I think at 1,500 points we'll probably start seeing more Castus. So he's got a good job there, all-rounder as well. Princeps trait, favoured by fortune, because if I miss that Bellicosa on a squad of a banner of a Castus, I want to be able to re-roll that. So I thought that would be useful. Backed up by Reaver, the same build as the Venator one, with the turbo laser, Melwa Gatling, and then 2 Warhounds with bolters and plasmas, fairly standard there. And then I've chucked in 3 Cerastus Lancers as a support unit, so you can have that 1 support banner per Maniple. I wanted to take them because I like the models, so I just wanted to fit them in once, and they fit the points nicely in that gap I had after the Titans. So there they are, and that comes in at 1,485 points. I was a little bit disappointed I couldn't make it around 1,500, but that's what I wanted to take. So that's your Axiom Battle Line Maniple for my 1,500 point selection. Okay, last but not least is my 2,000 point selection, and this was my favourite one, and it's my favourite Maniple type as well. So I've picked a Ferox Light Maniple for this, and with a couple of support units to bulk it out, and all done for a reason, because I think it's quite a cool combination, quite fluffy. Right, so kicking off, I've got a Reaver Princeps, and it's exactly the same build as before, using it in all 3 lists. Because I think it's good. It's my Princeps, and I'm giving it the Dominant Strategist trait. I think with a Ferox list, it's a good trait because you probably want to get that charge off at some point, and it's nice to have that possible guarantee, unless your opponent's got it as well, to get that charge off or fight first in the combat phase with a Ferox list, because most of your dirty work's going to be done at 2-inch range, so voids aren't going to make a difference there, so you kind of want to be getting that first blow in. So that's my Princeps, backed up with my new Reaver I've painted. A really nice build that I enjoy as well. He's completely brutal at short range. Vulcan Mega Bolter on top, and then another Melta Cannon and a Chain Fist. So yeah, you can strip shields on the move. Chain Fist is obviously it's probably more efficient than the Power Fist, because you're not knocking them away and things like that. The extra attacks, plus with the Maniple trait you're getting the extra damage as well. And then the Melta Cannon, really good for taking out Knights, and really good at making big holes in Titans. Backed up with the 3 Warhounds. No laser blasters here. I've gone 3 Vulcan Mega Bolt Plasma Blast Guns, because I want them all getting up close, short range guns, and the Vulcan Mega Bolter can do a lot of serious damage to compromised Titans, plus getting rear flank shots and all that stuff. So I think they'd be good. A side note on the Warhounds, it's probably a bit presumptuous, but at this point I'm probably going to run them as a squadron of 3. I know you'll probably be shouting you'll lose the activation game. Do you know what? That's fine. I think by the time we're playing these 2K games, I think people start maybe getting a little bit tired, and obviously the time thing as well. So if there's a lot of activations on both sides, the game could drag. So if I'm bashing out 3 activations with the Warhounds in one go, hopefully it'll speed the game along and it will make it more fun for my opponent and myself. So that's the thinking behind that as well. Plus I've not really played a lot with squadrons, so I think it might be fun as well. There's also another reason, and I'll get to that in a second, because it hinges on one of my support units. So that's the Hounds, and that's the Maniple. So they've got the Ferox trait, so they can use their ballistic skill instead of their weapon skill when they get within that 2-inch range, and they also get +1 to their damage rolls when they're within the scale of their opponent. It's my favourite Maniple. It's completely bonkers. It really forces you up in people's faces. You get loads of engine kills, you get loads of chain reactions, so you'll even lose your own Titans. It's just really good fun. I really enjoy it. So onto the support. I've taken Titan of Legend, the Penumbral Reaper, and that's the Warlord for Mortis. And you can't have a Warlord in a Ferox, so taking it as a support works really nicely, so I get a Warlord in my list as well. Now what the Penumbral Reaper brings to the game as well is the Towering Exemplar rule. So friendly Titans within 12 inches add 1 to all command checks. So if I want that charge, I've got things within 12 inches, they're getting +1 to that command check. The Warhound Squadron, if I do a squadron order, so because there's 3 of them, they're getting +2. So that 5 goes to a 3, and then if they're within 12 inches of the Reaper, they're actually doing a squadron command check on a 2+ for Warhound. So that's pretty handy. The other rule as well is units with the melee trait can reroll 1s to hit. So the only weapon I've got is the Reaver with the Chain Fist, but the Penumbral Reaper himself has a Power Claw. So all the rules apply to himself, and then of course any charges I get with the other units, smash attacks have the melee trait as well, so reroll 1s to hit. So with a Ferox Maniple, they're getting the advantage of using their ballistic skill, which is 3+, and can reroll 1s as well. So he works really nicely as a support unit to Ferox, because it's friendly Titans get the bonuses for all this. You do not have to be part of the Maniple according to the card. So he's pretty cool. Just thought it'd be fun as well. Again, it's something else I've just painted up that you've not seen in any of my videos yet. So trying to take some more toys to play with. And then I had 180 points left over excuse me, which I filled up with 3 Questoris Knights. I haven't used them in ages. I haven't got them in any other of my lists for the weekend, so I thought I would take 3 of those, 2 with battle cannons, and then 1 with a thermal cannon and a melter gun. That's 180 points exactly, so it makes my whole list 2,000 points on the nose, which I was really happy about, and I thought they'd be quite fun. Maybe they could sit back and actually defend the rear of the Warlord, as he'll definitely be pushing up, because he is kitted out with a Power Claw and a Sun Fury Plasma for close combat. On the carapace he's got the paired laser blasters, but I think he'll be getting close so quickly that they probably won't be used much at all. So that's my 2K list. Really aggressive, real mix of units in there. Some Knights, Warhounds, Warlord, a couple of Reavers. Really looking forward to those 2K games and using that list, as I've not played it yet. So that's my favourite one, and that's it. That's everything I'm taking. Final thought on some stratagems that I might use throughout the weekend. Some of my favourites. I don't know what the stratagem structure is going to be, being that it's narrative and they've got their own missions and stuff. But here's some I like to use in combination as well. Warlust, traitor card for the duration of the round. Players' Titans add 2 to their boosted speed. In addition, the players' Titans add 2 to command checks when attempting to issue a full stride order. It's a really good first round trait to use. First turn is often about movement and positioning, so it's a really good way to whip your Titans around the board, especially with a full stride warlord going 8 inches twice, 16-inch move in the first turn, especially when he's got a power claw. So I like that a lot. Also handy later in the game, if you're not too fussed about a full stride, but say you've got a close combat Reaver or Warlord and you want to add 2 inches to their boosted speed. So for that charge, that's an 11-inch charge with a Reaver plus a 2-inch reach, so that's a 13-inch and 10-inch effectively for a Warlord. So an 8-inch move and a 2-inch reach with the claw. So I love Warlust, really handy, and that's the kind of 2 ways that I like to use it most. I'll skip over to the one on the right. Bloodthirst, another traitor card. Duration of a round, the player's Titans add 2 to any hit rolls made against enemies within 2 inches of them. In addition, the player's Titans add 2 to their command checks when attempting a charge order. So see straight away, you can combine that with Warlust if you want to get those big charges off, and then you're adding 2 to hit. Brutal in a Ferox, but also really efficient in any other build, because that 4+ weapon skill is getting +2 in a Ferox. Well, if you're on a Ferox mana pool, you're going to be hitting on 2s. If you've got Penumbral Reaper, you're re-rolling 1s if you're within 12 inches. So Bloodthirst with the right stuff is devastating. And then I've got Blind Barrage, which is 1 point. I think it's a really great utility stratagem. Just pick something that you don't want to be, they're shooting at you, you put it on yourself, or you can put it on a Titan that's got a good cover of the board and you think, I don't want it getting the hits off this turn. The combination I like with this is, example, if you've got your Reaver close combat and an opponent's close combat Reaver and they're kind of facing off and you haven't got the first player and they're going to get the charge first, you can whack Blind Barrage on them and then play Bloodthirst on yourself. So they're -2 to hit you, you're -2 to hit them, but with Bloodthirst you're getting the +2 and you're basically hitting on your basic weapon skill, or the Ferox ballistic skill gives you a big advantage in that fight. So a good utility, and again great combination with Bloodthirst. So in the bigger games I had 4 stratagem points, depending on the mission and my build. These are 3 stratagem cards that I really like using together. Okay, so Scarable Mines. Now I didn't put this up here because I like it, I put it up because I absolutely detest it. It's 1 point, so you can use it in any game, and what I don't like about it is you play it each strategy phase. You stick a marker down, okay, it does scatter, but then it's got a 12-inch aura around it which becomes dangerous terrain. Now 12 inches from the centre is massive, it's a massive area, it's 24 inches across. So played every turn, you stick this somewhere. I mean, if your build is a sit back and shoot build and you've got this and you're using it every turn, this stratagem kills games with Titanicus. The great thing about this game is its movement and its facing. And if you've got Warhounds, you can't move. You will just take damage to your legs. Or if you move, if you limit your movement to avoid the damage, you're not going anywhere. The easy fix for this would be if it was played once and that's it, discard. I wouldn't have a problem with that. You can use it to funnel your enemy or stop them moving somewhere for a turn. Brilliant, 1 point, great, no problem with that at all. Using this every turn, this is the card where Titanicus games go to die. So it's a little bit of a grumble. I want to get that out there. Hopefully no one will be using it. or if they do, maybe they'll just go, oh, do you know what, I use it for one turn and we'll have a good game. So I just want to get this one out there anyway, really, because yeah, I don't enjoy it. I don't like what it does to games, and it's not one I'll ever use myself. And if I ever use it in my video in the future, because we have tried it once, it will be a one turn only. Okay, Princeps, that's the pack, that's my lists, just ready to go now, looking forward to it. If you see me there, say hello. If I play against you, that would be awesome. I want to take loads of pictures. I want to come back. I want to do a part 2 about my experience on the weekend, the games I played, the models I saw, and the beer I drank. And looking forward to it. Thanks, Princeps, and look forward to seeing you on the next video.